82 kilometers of hiking, 3,500 meters of elevation gain, 40-pound packs, 5 days, and 2 women with no overnight backpacking experience. This was Patagonia. Hi, my name's Alina. I left my corporate job to travel the world for a year. That still does feel very strange to say. For the most part, I'm traveling solo, but for the first leg of my journey, I was thankfully joined by one of my closest friends, Allie. And she didn't join me for an easy part of the trip. She joined me for a 5-day overnight backpacking experience through the mountains. Now, Allie and I weren't new to hiking. We've done lots of day treks before, but we'd never done anything overnight, and definitely nothing with backpacks. The last hike we did was in Grossmorn, which is around Newfoundland. Really cool hike, but also very challenging. We were supposed to actually camp after we got back. I say supposed to because we ended up booking a hotel so that we could have a nice warm shower at the end of the day. But we didn't let details like that stop us.
Patagonia!
And before long, Patagonia had become the first trip that, for me, would start off an entire year of travel. I was not the most prepared for this trip. I just need to make sure, one, that I actually know how to strap this on, because I've done it exactly 0 times. The girl did it for me in the store. We had planned to do the W Trek in Patagonia. The route we would take was a 5-day trip from west to east, starting with a glacier hike on day 2. We would be staying in camps along the way, but everything else, all of our gear, supplies, whatever, everything would have to be on our backs. So we packed these massive packs up. And, generally when you're doing a trip like this, it's a good idea to test out your gear first, make sure your hiking boots don't give you blisters, try out your hiking poles, make sure that you can lift your bag up without actually falling over. These were all things that are good in theory, but things that I just didn't have any time to do. So I got to the airport with my brand new hiking boots on. I had to lug my bag all around the airport and hoist it up every time I had to lift it. I don't even normally carry my own water when I'm hiking. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a passenger princess for hiking. And now everything was about to change. But before starting our hiking adventure, our first stop was actually Santiago. Okay, story time. We took a few days to hang out in Santiago before heading over to Patagonia. We went out to this amazing little spot for dinner, and of course, we ordered pisco sours. This is basically a must-do if you're visiting Peru or Chile.
We had a wild night last night.
We didn't really know it at the time, but a pisco sour is basically 3 parts brandy and 1 part lemon juice and sugar. So a little bit heavy on the spirits.
So we got these cute little drinks, and they looked so unassuming. So pisco.
Despite that, it tastes like a refreshing cocktail.
But no, they were horrendous. They were muchos alcohol.
We had also just gotten off the red eye and hadn't eaten in a while.
Yeah. So then, of course, we ordered another drink, the size of a fishbowl. Yeah.
We tried walking around and exploring Calle Estados Unidos. It's this really charming street in the Forestal neighborhood that's known for its street market and really, really cool European architecture. But we quickly found ourselves at a gelato shop.
And then we went home and watched a movie.
Yeah, that was at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
We went to bed at 8.
Yep.
We spent the next day exploring Santiago with a newfound appreciation for the pisco sour. There were a bunch of beautiful parks nearby, including Santa Lucia Hill, which was right near where our hotel was. I'm not going to lie, we were both out of breath just by walking up the hill in the park. For reference, the elevation for Santa Lucia Hill in the park is about 70 meters versus the 3,500 meters of elevation gain that we would encounter in Patagonia. So, not exactly very promising. We opted to take the cable cars up the next park instead of climbing up the entire hill, to save our strength for the hike, really. On a really good clear day, you can actually see the city framed by the Andes in the back. We ended the day with a walk through Plaza de Armas, and we grabbed dinner at Chipe Libre, which was just this fantastic Chilean food near our hotel. We opted to pair dinner with a glass of wine this time. We learned our lesson, for the most part.
We're going to Patagonia. Woo! We're going to Latam Arenas. Punta Arenas. Punta Arenas. Close enough. We're going on a Latam flight to Punta Arenas. Yeah, that's right. We got it. Okay, we didn't say what time it was. It's like 4 a.m. Yeah. Okay.
It took a plane and a bus after our 4 a.m. wake-up call, but we made it to the beautiful town of Puerto Natales. We walked around to get last-minute supplies. The major supermarkets were jam-packed with other hikers who all had the same idea. We had a bit of a rough time here. We went to probably 20 different stores trying to find protein bars. On the bright side, we got to break in my hiking boots a little bit more with all the walking. We also had to get microspikes, back to our theme of being a little bit underprepared. We got an email literally the day that we left for the airport that said that we needed to bring microspikes, which are just these little spikes that you can attach to your regular hiking boots. It was Easter weekend and a lot of the stores around town were closed. Thankfully, we were able to find one that was open, and we actually got some of the last pairs of microspikes available. We got lucky, but a lot of last-minute scrambling. Don't get me wrong, we were both still super excited, but it went off to a little bit of a rocky start here. It felt like the trip had started even before we got on the trail.
It's 6:45. We're getting ready to hike. Leaving our container department, our little hotel, a cute little hotel. And today's a chill day. All we're going to do is take a bus and then a catamaran boat, which is supposed to be really pretty, and then hike for 11K. And super chill. First time with her bags though, so wish us luck.
The trail conditions were perfect. We got so lucky here. At first, it felt surprisingly casual. We took a bit of time to adjust our bags and to remember how to set up all of our gear, but then we were off. That didn't last too long. Our bags felt okay for 100 meters, but we were struggling to figure out our adjustments for a while.
Here we go. No one's dead yet. 3 kilometers in. We're doing great. 3 of 80. No biggie. 90.
By the time we got to the camp, we were exhausted and desperate for some warm food. Bit of background here. So you can actually pre-book your meals in advance at the camps and refugios, but each meal is about 40 USD. So me being on a budget, I thought, well, let's get 1 meal per day and then we can just supplement with protein bars.
So what we didn't know was that Alina signed us up for Fat Camp because we're hiking 10 to 20 kilometers a day and we're having 1 meal a day. So this is where I die, folks.
Sorry, Allie. Unfortunately, we had chosen a boxed lunch for that day. I figured that since it was a packed meal, we could just take it at any point during the day. And then, we would be able to have our boxed lunch for dinner because lunch was like $5 cheaper than dinner. That's not how it works. They would give us the boxed lunch for the next day. So for dinner that night, we didn't really have any other choices but protein bars. We also had only eaten bananas and protein bars that day. So the thought of eating another protein bar for dinner after a long hike for the first day, no, not appealing. So we caved and ordered dinner. 175 Canadian dollars later, we had our dinner reserved, but we were turned away for the moment. We were actually too early, and they told us to come back later. So it was worth the wait. Honestly, our hunger may have played a bit of a factor in this, but the food was delicious. We were camping that night since the refugios were full. We did book pretty last minute, but we had a beautiful view of the mountains as we were heading back into our campsite. So all in all, not a bad day. The next day, we started off with a casual little glacier hike. Glacier Gray. This was an add-on that we did with Bigfoot Patagonia. I could not recommend it enough. The base is a quick 10-minute walk from the Gray campsite. The guides took us through the instructions first, gave us our glacier hiking gear, and then we were off in a speedboat to start our trek.
We're on a glacier. Yay! It is cold.
We made full use of our spikes and ice picks as we scaled the glacier. We spent around 2.5 hours hiking.
We're real explorers now. Allie, the explorer.
But before we knew it, we were back on the speedboat, headed back to the Gray campsite where we'd have a quick little lunch, and then we'd be back on our way. Where we'd walk the 11-kilometer trail back to Paine Grande. We absolutely crushed this hike.
Made it back.
We had finally gotten our adjustments right, and we flew through the trail. Like, literally, we were blown down the trail. We couldn't even stop. It was so windy. We had been planning to stop at this one viewpoint that we went to on the way up, and we honestly both just completely missed it because we were heads down trying to get to the end of the trail. Just as a reference point to show you how much we improved, on the first day that we did the hike, we took about 5 hours to do the full thing, start to finish. On day 2, we did it in only 3 hours, and this was after already doing a glacier hike in the morning. So I'm pretty proud of how quickly we improved our progress. I also thought it was quite interesting that what had felt a bit daunting at the beginning, hiking every day with our massive packs, had quickly become a normal, regular routine. So day 3, hike to Italiano, head up after dropping our bags off, go to the peak at Francis viewpoint, and then hike all the way back down, grab our bags from Italiano, and then we're camping in Chileno.
Yeah.
Just another, 15?
13.7.
13.7K. We did 11.2 yesterday, plus the glacier hike. 11.2 the day before.
Yeah, our hike could be longer if we leave our hiking poles because we saw like this guy, a real trooper in his like 60s.
Yeah.
Hiking back to get his poles. And we saw his poles before we saw him. We're like, oh, it sucks for that person.
Yeah. It seemed like it was a long way, but then he ran all the way back. Kudos to him. I couldn't run. He was trail running with his massive backpack.
Well, he had to impress his wife in front of that hot Sherpa.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
I was talking about him on the trail, and then
He showed up.
He was right behind me. I was like, I wonder if that how far that man had to go. He's like, not far. There's some, like, they have thick birds. That's a thick bird.
Sorry?
Like, their birds are all the size of chickens.
It's looking at you.
It's gonna kill me.
Anyway, 13K. It's gonna be a great day. You know what they say about the best laid plans.
So today we've hiked the wrong way. And now we're climbing to a higher summit than we had previously anticipated. So it's going really good. It's going to plan. But it's great. It's really pretty. You can see the mountains. Oh, yeah, here.
So the trail is generally marked pretty clearly, but we still somehow managed to take the wrong turn. We figured this out pretty quickly, but we decided not to backtrack and take the original path. It was a longer trail, so it added a few kilometers to our route overall, but we didn't really want to turn back. We had already had such a beautiful hike, and we decided just to lean into our mistake. I was a bit hesitant to deviate from the plan at first, but in the end, I'm really glad we didn't backtrack. The other trail was apparently quite muddy, so honestly, we made the right choice. As for the summit, initially we had planned just to go up to Francis Point, which is about 700 meters of elevation, but there is a higher viewpoint, Británico, which is an extra 100 meters up. We decided to pull people along the way. Did you go to Británico? Was it worth it? Everyone we asked had said a resounding yes. So we decided, you know what? Sure, let's do it. Even though it was getting later in the day and we were worried it might get a bit dark by the time we got down, we still figured we're here for this hike. We might as well go to the top and do the whole thing. It made me realize I like trying to stick to a plan, but sometimes it's better to wing it.
We finished our third day, 25 kilometers. Now we get dinner. But this is the first meal we've had that's hot. Or second meal. Second meal we've had that's hot, but this one looks delicious. Can't wait.
So at the end of the day, we had doubled our total hike from what we had originally planned, but this ended up being one of the best days of the trip.
So today is a special day because we got to the cafe a little bit late. And Ali Butter wanted to go on the trail right away. But we decided to come here anyway because I am desperate for coffee and I got a headache otherwise. So we came to the cafe and they gave us a free and sandwiches. And it was even vegan and lactose free. So yay. 15.7K today with our massive packs. It's windy, but another day of no rain. So frost. 500 meters incline. So yeah, off we go. Day 4. So pretty here. We got down to the water. You say nothing today.
Sometimes love is a dancer in the dark, spinning left and twirling.
We thought we were over the bag adjusting phase, but nope. Turns out when I was rushing to adjust my bag, I forgot to fully do the straps up. So I was walking around like that for probably an entire kilometer before Ali commented on my unusually floppy bag. It felt way better after adjusting it. So pro tip, if you want to have a good experience hiking, maybe adjust your bag first.
Losing track of time.
I took a photo of this rock over there. Now we're all the way over here. Funny how that works when you just keep walking.
Sometimes love is a thought we held too long.
It's funny, this looks really easy on video, but the section of the trail was actually so muddy and steep. You had to really watch your footing because if you put your foot in the wrong place, you would end up tumbling down and land face first in the mud.
Strength to carry on. The day breaks in the darkest places right before the dawn.
Okay, now it's beautiful, yes, but this part of the hike was rough. First of all, it was extremely steep and you're scrambling up these rocks. It's all really loose gravel, so each step you take forward, you also slide back a bit. Then, once you get to the top, you encounter the Windy Pass, which, appropriately named, is extremely windy. I was worried that it would push me off of the cliff, especially with the big bag. It sort of catches the wind like a nice sail and just threatens to scoot you right over. Yeah, not great. It was a tough part of the hike, but we rewarded ourselves with a hot chocolate and a nice cool Patagonia beer. I felt a pretty deep sense of accomplishment here. We'd come so far and we'd hiked so much elevation, all with our massive bags. I felt ready for the steepest hike to come. The hike up to the famous Torres del Paine. Let's set the stage. So we had slept about 4 hours. Our Oura rings had assigned us some pretty awful sleep scores. And it was 4 a.m. The wind was howling. We could hear rain or hail or something battering our tent. And we very reluctantly opened the zipper and ran over to the dining hall area for our breakfast. Nobody else was there at 4 in the morning. It was just us. But they did have our nice breakfast spread out for us, so that was quite lovely. I had 4 cups of coffee to try to make up for the fact that we had such an awful sleep the night before. We wired up, we got all of our gear on, and then we were ready to go. Now, we got up so early because we had heard that this was going to be the most difficult part of the trek. We're going up to Las Torres, the viewpoint that you typically see when people show you photos of Patagonia. And it's best to be there in the morning, like for sunrise. And since this was a more challenging part of the hike and we knew it was going to be dark when we were hiking, we thought, okay, let's give ourselves a bit of extra buffer time. Thankfully, we did. After a hut. And this is what we're doing to get to Las Torres. It's gonna be great. It may or may not be snowing. It's windy as and we might die here, but that's okay. Even with the headlamps, it was still just pitch black.
Hiking in the dark. The rest of the people are waiting till sunrise. We're too full for that. So let's see if we die in the woods. A lot of opportunities to die, but we're into day 5 here, and we're very much alive, despite our Oura rings telling us we're not doing so hot.
We ended up going the wrong way a few times, honestly. Oh no. This looks more past E. Up or down? Down. Down. Well, there you go, folks. We have no idea what we're doing. And we can't see anything. But we're doing it anyway. But we always made our way back in the end. Once we made our way through the rough patches, it was actually quite a pleasant hike.
Thinking about the Blair Witch Project right now. The witch is gonna murder us. It's fall here, so it feels like spooky season. Really, it's Easter, so I think it's safe.
The hike itself was steep, but not nearly as bad as we thought it would be. It was a lot of bouldering up versus the scrambling through the gravel that we'd done earlier. So we enjoyed it a lot more. We also weren't carrying our bags, and it felt practically weightless walking up the mountains without a 40-pound pack. Once we got to the top, it was a different story. We got there before sunrise, which was our goal, but it was awful weather. Now, we did have all of our rain gear, but neither of us had waterproof gloves. I barely got any photos from the top. I had lugged my camera all the way to the top just to take it straight back down again without even taking it out of my bag. I maybe got one cool shot of the mountain, a couple of photos. Honestly, I had a little breakdown. I have poor circulation in my hands and feet. And like when I'm sitting at the office, sometimes my hands would just turn purple and white. So it's pretty bad. Basically, I just skimped out because I didn't want to buy another thing. And I massively regret it now. That's one thing that you can't wing. You have to have the right gear. You know what they say? There's never really bad weather. There's just bad preparation. Something like that. My preparation was not good. My fingers were hurting so much for the cold. Honestly, I was just trying not to cry while running down the mountain. We saw the most beautiful sunrise too as we were leaving, but I couldn't really enjoy it though. Yeah, I'm a bit ashamed of that, but it's a good lesson to learn. Make sure that you always have the right equipment, especially when it's something that you know that you in particular need. On top of all that, I made a real rookie mistake. My bag is water resistant, not waterproof. We had been advised to potentially take up some warm, dry clothing, so if it stopped raining once we got to the top of the mountain, we could just change at the little rest stop at the top. So, of course, I packed all of my warm, dry clothes into my bag, and by the time we got down, it was completely soaked through. So everything that I had that was on the warmer side, yeah, that was all soaked. I could have put my clothes in a Ziploc bag, a dry bag, but nope, I just decided water resistant was enough. Thankfully, the staff took pity on us and gave us some treats and coffee so we could kind of de-thaw after our hike. We then set off for the long walk back to the shuttle bus. Now, it doesn't look that far and it's mostly downhill, but it's deceptively rough. It's funny, we ran into this guy on a horse. I think we must have looked really tired because he told us, "Don't worry, girls, you're almost there." Yeah, we were almost there, but that's when the weather turned. It had been raining most of the day at this point, and we were just trying to rush back. We didn't want to be wet anymore. We came across this section of the trail that was really indented, and it had turned into more of a river than an actual trail. But hey, at this point, we had been hiking for 5 days. We'd done a lot of hikes up rivers and waterfalls, so we thought, no big deal. We can handle it. Wrong. It was way, way deeper, and it was going way faster than we thought. I was also just tired and over it by this point, so I kind of rushed my footing. I slipped right into the river, completely submerged my foot. I was sloshing all the way back to the shuttle bus. I didn't really have any other footwear choices, so I ended my day in socks, flip-flops, and I stuffed hand warmers in my socks just to keep my toes from falling off. Not my most glamorous fashion moment.
We finished the W track. Big W.
We have all our fingers, even though we thought we'd do some.
Yeah, it was risky there. We pulled through.
This was our first backpacking trip, and we definitely made some mistakes along the way. But hey, that's how you learn. We got really lucky with our gear. It definitely would have been better to test some of it out beforehand. Maybe get a rain cover for my smaller bag. What really impressed me was just how easy it was to adapt to a completely different situation. And yes, we'd done some hikes before, but we had never taken on anything to this degree. And I think that's something to keep in mind going forward. You don't need to be an expert and you don't need to plan everything down to the little nitty-gritty detail. You can kind of go out there and just do it. I think in general, as people, we really underestimate our ability to just figure things out as we go and adapt to situations. That was also really good for me personally to have as a lesson going forward because of my particular situation. Like, at least I'd done some hiking before. I'm traveling for a year. I have never filmed before. I've never edited videos before. I didn't even know how my mics worked. I filmed for the first time and my mics were actually in the other room because I'd done a little outfit change and I forgot to put the mic on my new outfit. So yeah, I'm very much a rookie at all of this and I'm just figuring it out as I go. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to be perfect at first, and there's going to be times where I make mistakes and mess up. But that's sort of part of it. That's how you learn, and that's sort of the beauty of this experience. There isn't pressure to be perfect. All I need to do is just get out there and do it. So that's what I'm doing, I guess. So this was the first part of the journey. I had my friend with me. In the coming weeks, I would learn what it's like to travel solo, like really solo for the first time. So yeah, follow along to see how that goes.